Good evening. Johnno here, back with UGB, who has just asked me whether I would rather be watching the Man United game, to which I replied, I think I'd rather watch England than that shower of shite, because both of my teams at the moment are a complete nightmare. Do you know what's getting really boring,
What's
Eugene?
that?
Well, for Simon and I to have to record with a South African cricket fan all the time. We've had one, I mean, not that it's a pleasure, because obviously we support you in supporting South Africa anyway, but I mean, come on, give us a break.
I've got a few messages from a few people. South African sport's flying at the moment, isn't it? No, look, it all could come crashing down, and I'm not going to tag South Africa as the chokers, because there is a team that has lost more semi-finals and finals than us, and that is India. So from my perspective,
yes,
I am not tagging South Africa as a choker, or India for that matter. It's just good cricket sport. So look, we're on a good roll at the moment. Things are going really well. I'll be honest, I felt really sorry for New Zealand today. I don't know if you saw the injury crisis that they went through. So,
oh mate, yeah, between them and Sri Lanka, it's crazy the amount of injuries that they've got.
I mean, they almost had the coach on the field today. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah.
So Luke Ronke, because Matt Henry's hamstring's gone, and it looks like it's gone for the tournament from the sounds of things. They brought on Ish Sodhi, who was the only remaining fit player left. They do have another batsman there, but he's not part of the 15th squad. He's the 16th travelling reserve, so he can't come on as a substitute fielder. So when Tim Southee went off for a quick, I don't know, toilet break, or maybe a quick strap up of a finger or something, they had to field with 10 players, or there was an option to bring on one of the training staff. And the obvious option would have been somebody like Luke Ronke. But yeah, it's just bonkers. I mean, they only at the moment have 11 fit players, and that includes Jimmy Neesham, who took a blow to the hand today.
Yeah. And I don't even know if Tim Southee's actually fully fit.
Yeah.
But they obviously wanted the extra seamer, so he's had to play. But now Matt Henry's gone down.
I mean, I was listening to the comms, and they were talking about Carl Jamieson. He left the squad, remember, because he was originally in it.
Yeah, he did.
And they were talking about him now having to come back. And is he actually going to make it? Because the next game's in 3 days. I heard Polly and Pommy, I forget who the third one is, one of the New Zealand commentators. I forget who it was off the top of my head. But they were
Simon Dool.
Simon Dool, yeah, that's it. They were talking about, well, can he get here in time? I'm like, well, hang on.
When acclimatise,
yeah, exactly. Well, and is he fit enough? So it's just bonkers to see all these teams going through, these injury scares. And I will say this at the beginning of the tournament, I'm going to contradict myself here, because there was a conversation that we had in the beginning of the Cricket World Cup dailies was the tournament too long? I said, no, I don't think it is. It maybe is now because of the pure, injury scares that people are going through at the moment. And I do say injury scares because it's only happening to a certain selection of teams. And maybe they weren't well enough prepared. I don't know. Maybe, their S&C coach, didn't do their job. Maybe they took some chances. I mean, Australia took a chance on Travis Head as a really good example. He stayed at home for the beginning of the tournament, selected him, and he's now rocked up and, scored a ton in his first game. But yeah, it was tough to watch today. 190 run victory. I don't want to say it was empty, because I thought that they were going to give us a good run for their money. But when you see a 190 run victory, and I mean, Super Brew doesn't even have an answer for that.
Well, no. I mean, you should have actually realised what a dicking South Africa had handed out to New Zealand when I predicted last night that it was going to be a tight game. So that, it was obviously going to be a ridiculous victory one way or the other. Yeah, I know what you mean about. So just to pick up on a couple of points. I know you've said about India having lost more semi-finals and what have you than South Africa, but I don't know if you remember, this is a few months back, I actually raised the question of, you think about New Zealand's journey over, they probably since 2015, maybe slightly before, they have been a top four side in pretty much all of the global competitions without ever actually winning one. And yes, they won the World Test Championship, but I'm talking about white ball tournaments.
Yeah, very
true. They must feel the kind of weight of expectation a little bit, and that kind of I don't think anybody's referred to them as chokers because they seem to be too nice as a nation for that to ever happen. But yeah, I think that can be levelled at 2 or 3 sides. England have certainly choked really in this edition of the World Cup, haven't they? Again, we're still yet to find out really what's been going on there, and we'll obviously bring that to you when it does. But when we do, rather, in terms of the injuries, Simon mentioned, earlier in this series of World Cup Daily podcasts that we're doing, that the turnaround time now is what, 3 days generally, 3-4 days. Sometimes you get a bit more of an extended break. But when you're asking these guys who are, elite athletes, and they're a bit like, for want of a better expression, like racehorses. And in the sense that, they're so finely tuned that as soon as they do something even slightly wrong, the injury is almost a lot more exaggerated than it would be for you, myself, Simon, or any other clubby, because, our bodies aren't in the same situation. So you look at, let's look at the 92 World Cup, for example. You look at people like Gatting, Botham, Fairbrother, and the entire playing staff of the entire World Cup. Now, they weren't built in the same way as these modern day athletes are, and they used to get injured far less. Now you hear about all the stress fractures that bowlers get, etc. So, it's, as much as the advancements in technology and fitness and what have you are great, no one can tell us that they weren't bowling as quickly as this in the 70s and 80s. Thompson, Hadley, the West Indies, but yet the amount of injuries weren't as common as they are now. Is there a direct correlation between the fitter you are, the more prone you can be to injuries that these lads wouldn't have had maybe 20 or 30 years ago? Or what? I don't know. And I'm certainly not got the skill sets to answer that question, but I just think it's something that's worth raising. I mean, what do you think?
I totally agree with you. I think you're 100% spot on there. The caveat that I would throw in there is I think some of these players have come into the tournament with niggles, and that's what's caused them to break down. And therefore, the squads are now under pressure because, I remember when, who was it? It was Ngidi and Rabada, for that matter, both had niggles, and we had Williams and and Shamsi come in for those games. It's like, yeah, we've got a like for like in terms of quality of player to come in. So I think whichever, India, another great example. Pandya goes out, you get Shami and Sky come in. So I think that some of the squads have carried injuries into the tournament, and they are the ones that are now being found out. And maybe that is the likes of Sri Lanka and New Zealand. I mean, you could argue Australia in the same boat with Travis Head, but arguably he's a batsman and, slightly easier to.
And he's coming fresh now, isn't he?
Yeah, very fresh. Obviously sitting on his couch in Australia, he's done well.
Yeah, absolutely. How do we think, before we go on to today's game in a bit more depth, how do we think after a second, obviously the loss against Australia was only by 5 runs, and you'd say that probably almost wouldn't feel like a loss to score 383 chasing. But, a horrible result really for New Zealand today. Off the back of 2 straight losses, how do we think the feeling in the camp's going to be around the Kiwi boys at the minute?
Runs on the board. I mean, it was interesting that the commentators brought it up today. There's no such thing as due. They take in the view from the IPL, which is played later on in the year. It's, the due's only, the timing's only hitting when the game's done. I mean, the game was done today by the 25th over, when in the second innings, that is. So, I think the New Zealand guys must be hurting, but they've only got themselves to blame, because when you look at the statistics, South Africa batting first are phenomenal. Batting second is a slightly different conversation, and I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but they weren't as strong. One thing I did want to just sort of point out to you and see if you realize this. Do you know that the toss has had absolutely no influence on the winning of games?
Yeah, Robbo and I were talking about this the other night, and he was saying, when you look at this tournament as a whole, good cricket wins cricket matches. I think to talk about the toss, obviously New Zealand won the toss today.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
The only time we've seen South Africa struggle, they've lost one and just got over the line in the other, is when they've had to chase. So what, an interesting decision for Tom Latham to go, right, have a bat first, because that would, you would expect suit them, unless it was some kind of double bluff.
Simon Dool was obviously listening to the podcast because he quoted exactly what you guys mentioned. He said, it doesn't matter about the toss in terms of what the due factor is and how it is. Whoever's playing best cricket. And then they raised the point. Today is match 32, sorry. That now makes 9 teams out of 32 that have won the toss and won the game. Rest of them. So basically,
wow,
it's crazy. So it makes no difference.
Yeah.
And do you know what? It's actually quite nice to hear that there's no influence on the toss now. It's whoever plays the best cricket, either batting or bowling, is going to win the cricket.
And that's what you want, right? That's exactly what you want to see. So,
yeah.
I mean, look, we should get into the game a little bit more. You know, Quinton de Kock, if they're not throwing, I mean, what is it to the pound these days?
25
bazillion rand?
25 rand to the pound.
25 bazillion rand to the pound.
He's definitely going to get a gig in England in the summer, I hope.
Well, I mean, you know, if Cricket South Africa are not throwing cash at him, along with, I don't know, flowers, vineyards, cars, houses, just to carry on.
Yeah.
I mean,
400,
114, 400 of the tournament, 114 from 116, 10 fours, 3 sixes. Just unbelievable. You know, batted 40 overs again today.
Yeah.
I would love to see how many overs he's actually been out there for across the tournament, not just balls faced. You know, obviously he was out second ball against England, but other than that, he's played 6 games and he's got 400. Did he come out and keep today?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Oh, he did.
So there wasn't.
Right. He's obviously been listening to the podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's a pop quiz for you. There is another person that has scored in a single instance of a World Cup has scored 400s. Any ideas who it is?
Or more.
And there's definitely one person that scored more. They've scored 5, and we know who that is.
That's Rohit Sharma.
Yep. So there's one other person, and this is why Quinton de Kock is an elite company now. So Rohit Sharma scored 500s in a single instance of a World Cup. Quinton de Kock went 4 from 6 today. There is one other player, and
Sachin would be the obvious
but not.
guess.
He's not Indian. He is Asian.
Crikey.
Sri Lankan. Let's go with that.
Oh, Kumar.
Yes. 400s.
Yeah.
So he's the other one. So elite company to be in, which is phenomenal from that point of view. But
yeah.
So look, the batters turned it on. Temba looked really good. The way that they started off was so circumspect and respectful of the New Zealand bowlers, which laid the platform. We said this from the beginning. You know, Robbo said it a million times, and I'm pretty sure he's going to carry on.
That's been their blueprint.
Yeah.
That's been their blueprint.
Absorb, and then turn it on.
Well, I mean, it's almost been, right, let's get to 100, 120. Let's try and go at 5 or 6, close to run a ball as we can without doing anything daft. Keep as many wickets in the shed as we can because we want Clarkson and Miller to come in. Probably Clarkson, very good player of spin. So if he comes in with 20 overs left, fine. Then you try and get Miller in with 10 overs left. And then the fireworks start. You know, obviously Miller came in before Clarkson today.
Because he only had 10 overs left, right? That's why.
Possibly, yeah. I was a bit. Yeah, but, you know, obviously Markram had dropped himself, well, you know, got dropped down to 6, but then, 600. Maybe that was just a little bit of an up yours to Temba and the coach. I mean, it was a pretty rank delivery by Jimmy Nation. But 357 for 4 from 50. I think they got well over 100 again in the last 10, but wasn't it 100 in the last 7 or something? Yeah. I think Simon said. Which is just it's frighteningly good hitting and striking to, you know, and also to do it as consistently as they have throughout the entire tournament. You know, the South African coaching staff, team, mentality, blueprint is literally showing every other side, probably other than India, who've won every game, exactly how to approach batting in this World Cup. You know, so the bowling figures are not great. Obviously, Henry only bowled 5.3 for 31. Bolt 1 for 49. He's pretty steady. Southey 2 for 77. Santon on for 58. He's had a steady World Cup. Phillips, none for 52 from 7. Is it a game too far? Have they been relying a bit too much on him as a part-timer? Ravindra, 2 overs for 17.
And then
he is not a world-class spinner by any stretch.
And then
Neesham,
unfortunately.
I know. One for 69 off 5.5.
Gain at 12.5. Yeah. Miller did get hold of him. So
yes. But then you look at the Kiwi card and they just stuttered all the way through, didn't they? Conway nicked off, I think, second slip, early doors for 2.
Great catch.
Will Young looked okay, but didn't really inspire anything for 33 from 37. Ravindra, had a great World Cup with the bat. No one can argue with that. Scoring, I think he's only the second or third Kiwi to score 200s in the same World Cup. Weird dismissal.
Yeah, very much.
I think the comms were talking at the time about not wanting to let Maharaj settle, maybe try and get on top of him a little bit right from the word go, but that obviously didn't work. Maharaj then, bowled fantastically well I think he got 3. So
did you see his speeds? I don't know if you noticed this when he was bowling. He is bowling much slower than he's bowled in his career.
Oh, is it?
So he's realised, and do you know what's really interesting? Simon's mentioned that from a bowling perspective, it's test match lengths that are very effective here.
Yeah.
And during the post-match interview when Rassie van der Dussen was being interviewed by Pommy Mbangwa, basically he just said, when we came out, we just told them test match length is really hard. And also it seems to be the slower you bowl, the harder it is to hit. So, I think that ball that got Mitchell, it was, I think they said 10 Ks an hour slower than any other delivery, which is why maybe Mitchell had to reach for it. And then he hit it as high as he did. What was it? 39 meters high.
Great catch.
Yeah.
Great catch by Miller. Yeah. So, Glenn Phillips came in and got 60 from 50. But other than that, there were only 3 double-figure scores in the entire card. Yeah, exactly. Jimmy Neesham obviously got hit with when he was bowling. On the return.
Right hand,
like on his wrist. So he had to come out and bat 9, none off 8 balls. Just never look.
What a ball to get bowled with. Maharaj bowled him through the gate.
Yeah. He just didn't look comfortable though, did he? Just kind of, I hope not too many people have had to bat injured before. I've had to do it, and it's a pretty horrid experience, to be honest. But you're going out there just to try and help your teammates or, the bloke at the other end as much as you can. But by that point, it was very much a lost cause. Eventually ending 167 all out. So
Marco Jansen now top wicket taker alongside Shaheen Shah Afridi. 16 apiece.
Yeah, it was the spinners for a while, wasn't it? But now the seamers seem to be coming back into it.
Adam Zampa's still up there, right? He's also got also got 16.
Sander will be rounding about.
He's on 14, I think.
Yeah. So a shame for the neutral, I'd say today. I was looking forward to watching as much as I could of a real top quality game, but unfortunately, as a neutral, South Africa have done what South Africa have done for most of the tournament and just blown another side away. But this time it's one of the top 4 sides, which I can't say I'm particularly surprised by. For me, it's great to see South Africa playing such positive, aggressive, intent-filled cricket because that's but with a plan. That's what I enjoy is watching. They've put together some fantastic batting performances and bowling performances, and I think they're playing the game in the right way with the right level of intensity and the right plans, and it's been a pleasure to watch.
You're not wrong there. It's interesting to see the permutations now, to see Pakistan can qualify, Afghanistan can qualify. They've now got big games. They've got big games going on. So, from my perspective, it's all to play for in the top 4. Everyone, that defeat today, unfortunately for New Zealand, has knocked open fourth place. Look,
especially given their injury woes as well. Yeah. Because if they can bring someone else in, then they're going to be coming in cold, aren't they? So,
Travis Head did.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking if it is Kyle Jamieson with the need for that extra seamer, he's carrying niggles already. So are they then going to have to go back to the well to try and find someone else who's probably not had the experience at international level, which would be an incredibly tough call. So we shall see. Tomorrow, Eugene, is India, Sri Lanka. So, I can only see that going one way.
Come on, Sri Lanka. I'd like South Africa to finish top of the group.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, you know, not that I'm voting against India. I mean, look, I was going to say something today, which was, I think at the moment in current form, South Africa will beat India 2 out of 3 times. However, I do think they'll
Oh, yeah,
lose
that's
to India
interesting.
in this World Cup, and probably in the final, and that will be the 1 out of 3.
I'm just looking at what's been. Oh, I'll tell you what we've got to mention.
Mhm.
So you sent this to us just before we finish. That tweet that Iceland Cricket sent to the ECB today. No, it's a nice little light-hearted thing to
Yeah,
finish
yeah,
on. So do you want me to read
yeah,
this
go
out?
for
Because I've
it.
got it in front of me. So Iceland Cricket sent this, say, tweet, X, whatever it's fucking called these days. Sorry, Tim, on that particular platform that Mr. Musk now owns. Dear at ECB Cricket, we have noticed your recent problems on the pitch. We wish to extend you a public offer to play a 3-match warm-up series in Reykjavik in advance of your participation in the Champions Trophy qualifiers in 2024. Unlike versus our Irish cousins recently, against whom you played your B/C team as a warm-up for the Cricket World Cup, we hope that you would bring your A team. We're a rapidly developing cricket nation who, although still small, have ambitions to win the World Cup, open brackets, of salmon fishing, close brackets, in the 2060s. We look forward to hearing from you. Yours comically, the Icelandic Cricket Association.
Brilliant, right?
I saw that and I just howled laughing. I mean, we've kind of mocked the England choices of who they've played and what have you before, but you know, we were talking about who they might be playing in the Champions. You know, could it be France? We might play against Georgia, the Faroe Islands, maybe Iceland. Iceland might give us a decent game. Who knows? on some kind of concrete based Astro wicket in Reykjavik, you know, but they might be running short of offers from the other test playing nations. So, you know, we might find ourselves having to go to these far-flung destinations to find a game, like a kid on a campsite trudging around with a cricket bat and a ball, as I did as a 6-year-old trying to find friends to play cricket with me. But there we go. There we shall leave it for tonight. Thank you, Eugene, as always, for your wonderful company. Eugene and Robbo, I assume, will be back with you tomorrow night to talk about India and Sri Lanka. And I will be back on Friday. Until then, thanks as always for tuning in. Lots of love, and we'll catch you soon.
Goodbye.